The bar smelled like engine oil and bad decisions. Kang Tae-ho liked it that way. He sat alone at the counter, nursing his third drink of the night. The liquid burned his throat, but he welcomed the heat. It helped him forget the 18-hour cargo run he had just finished. His back hurt, his eyes were tired, and his ship, the old freighter he called the Rust Bucket, needed repairs he could not afford. Outpost Kira 7 was not a nice place. It floated at the edge of known space, far from any government or law. Smugglers came here. Traders came here. People who did not want to be found came here. Tae-ho fit right in. The bar was crowded tonight. Aliens of all shapes and sizes filled the tables. Some had scales. Some had too many eyes. One creature in the corner appeared to be made entirely of smoke. Tae-ho had stopped being surprised by such things years ago. When you spent your life hauling cargo across the galaxy, you learned that the universe was strange and you were small. He was about to order his fourth drink when the door opened. Everyone looked. Tae-ho looked too. A woman walked in. At least she looked like a woman. Her skin was silver white, smooth like polished metal. Her eyes were violet, deep and bright, like distant stars. Her hair fell past her shoulders in waves of pale blue. She was tall and moved with a grace that made every step look like a dance. She was, without question, the most beautiful being Tae-ho had ever seen. She wore simple clothes, a worn jacket, dark pants, boots that had seen better days. The clothes did not match her. They looked like a costume on her, like she was pretending to be ordinary and failing completely. The woman walked to the bar and sat on the stool next to Tae-ho. The bartender, a four-armed creature with yellow skin, hurried over immediately. "What can I get you?" the bartender asked, his voice eager. "Water," the woman said. Her voice was soft but clear. She spoke the human language perfectly, without any accent. "Clean water, if you have it." The bartender rushed to get her order. Tae-ho watched from the corner of his eye. He wanted to say something clever, but his brain refused to cooperate. So he just sat there, drinking his cheap alcohol, trying not to stare. The woman received her water and sipped it slowly. She seemed lost in thought, her violet eyes fixed on nothing in particular. 10 minutes passed in silence. Then the door opened again. 5 aliens walked in. They were big, with gray skin and faces that looked like they had been carved from stone. They wore black armor and carried weapons openly. The other customers in the bar suddenly found reasons to look away. The 5 aliens walked straight toward the woman. "You will come with us," the leader said. His voice was deep and cold. "Now!" The woman did not turn around. She kept sipping her water. "I do not think I will. This is not a request." "I know what it is." She set down her glass. "My answer remains no." The leader grabbed her shoulder. His stone-like fingers dug into her jacket. "You do not have a choice. Our master wants you. What our master wants, our master gets." Tae-ho should have stayed quiet. He knew this. He was a cargo pilot, not a hero. He had no weapons. He had no training. He had no reason to get involved in whatever this was. But something about the situation made his blood hot. Maybe it was the drinks. Maybe it was the long day. Maybe it was the way those aliens talked to her like she was property to be collected. Or maybe Tae-ho was just stupid. "Hey," he said, standing up from his stool. "The lady said no." All 5 aliens turned to look at him. The leader released the woman's shoulder and faced Tae-ho fully. He was at least a head taller than Tae-ho and probably 3 times heavier. "Human," the leader said, as if the word itself was an insult. "This does not concern you. Sit down before you get hurt." "See, that is the thing." Tae-ho smiled, even though his heart was beating so fast he could hear it in his ears. "I am already hurt. Bad day at work. So I figure, why not make it worse?" He threw his drink in the leader's face. The alien roared in surprise and anger. His followers charged at Tae-ho. What followed was less of a fight and more of a beating. Tae-ho managed to land one good punch before he was thrown across the room. He crashed into a table, sending glasses flying everywhere. But he had done what he needed to do. He had created a distraction. The woman moved like lightning. In the time it took Tae-ho to hit the floor, she had already taken down 2 of the aliens. Her movements were precise and deadly. She struck pressure points, broke joints, and disabled her attackers with terrifying skill. The three remaining aliens tried to fight back, but they were too slow. Within seconds, all five lay on the ground, unconscious or groaning in pain. The bar was silent. Everyone stared at the woman with new fear in their eyes. She walked over to Tai Ho and looked down at him. He was lying on his back among the broken table pieces, bleeding from a cut on his forehead. "Why did you do that?" she asked. Taeho thought about the question. It was a good question. He did not have a good answer. "You looked like you needed a distraction," he said finally. The woman studied him for a long moment. Her violet eyes seemed to look right through him, seeing something he could not understand. Then slowly, she smiled. It was a small smile, careful and controlled, but it changed her entire face. "You are either very brave or very foolish," she said. "Mostly foolish," Taeho admitted. "But sometimes it works out." She extended her hand. He took it, and she pulled him to his feet with surprising strength. "Do you have a ship?" she asked. "I do. It is old and ugly and breaks down constantly, but it flies. I need passage to the neutral sector. I can pay." She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small chip. Even in the dim bar light, Taeho could see it was a credit chip worth more money than he made in a year. He should have asked questions. He should have wondered who she was and why those aliens wanted her. He should have been smarter. But Taeho had never been accused of being smart. "The neutral sector is 3 jumps away," he said. "I can have you there in 4 days." "That is acceptable. Then we have a deal." He wiped the blood from his forehead and grinned. "Welcome aboard the Rust Bucket. I am Kang Taeho." "You may call me Lira," she said. And just like that, Taeho's simple life became very complicated. The Rust Bucket earned its name honestly. It was old. It was ugly. Strange noises came from the walls at night. The heating system only worked on the left side of the ship, and the toilet had a 50% success rate that Taeho preferred not to discuss. But it was home. It had been home for 5 years, ever since Taeho bought it with every credit he had saved. The ship had carried him across 100 star systems. It had kept him alive through solar storms, pirate attacks, and one very angry customs officer. Taeho loved this ship like family. His actual family, the humankind, was just one person. Yoon Ha-na had been his friend since childhood. They grew up together on a small colony world, dreaming of stars they could not reach. When Taeho bought the Rust Bucket, Hana was the first person he called. She had been his co-pilot ever since. Hana did not like their new passenger. "Something is wrong with her," Hana whispered to Taeho on the second day of their journey. They were in the cockpit, far from Lira's quarters. "Have you seen the way she moves? The way she talks? She is not normal." "She is an alien," Taeho said. "None of them are normal." "You know what I mean." Hana crossed her arms. "I asked her to help prepare dinner last night. She did not know how to open a food packet." "A food packet, Taeho. Children know how to do that. Maybe her species does not eat packet food. And this morning, she could not figure out the shower controls. But when our navigation computer started acting strange, she fixed it in 3 minutes." 3 minutes. That system has been broken for months. Taeho had noticed these things too. Lira was a puzzle. She did not know how to do simple tasks that any traveler should know. She seemed confused by basic appliances and common objects, yet she spoke perfectly, moved like a trained warrior, and fixed their most complex computer like it was a children's toy. She was either lying about who she was, or she came from a life very different from anything Taeho could imagine. "She is probably just some rich girl," he said, "running away from a bad family or a bad marriage. People like that do not learn everyday skills." Hana shook her head. "Rich people still know how to open doors." She stared at the door handle for 10 seconds before I showed her how to push it. "Okay, very rich." "Taeho!" Hana grabbed his arm. "I am serious. We need to be careful. Whatever she is running from, it is big. Those aliens at the bar were professionals. They were not simple criminals. They were trained soldiers." Taeho knew Hana was right, but he had already taken Lira's money. More importantly, he had already decided to help her, and Kang Taeho did not break his promises. "We will be careful," he said, "but we finished the job. That is what we do." Hana sighed. She knew him too well to argue further. That night, Taeho could not sleep. He wandered through the ship, checking systems that did not need checking, fixing things that were not broken. It was a habit he had developed over years of restless nights. Moving helped him think. He found Leroy in the observation room. The rust bucket had a small room with a wide window that looked out at the stars. It was Tai Ho's favorite place on the ship. He often sat there alone, watching the universe drift by. Lyra stood at the window. Her silver skin caught the starlight, making her glow softly in the darkness. She did not turn when Tai Ho entered. She just kept staring at the endless black. "May I join you?" he asked. "It is your ship." He walked to the window and stood beside her. For a while, neither of them spoke. They just watched the stars together, two small beings in an infinite universe. "They are beautiful," Lyra said finally. "The stars. We have the same stars in my home, but they look different from here. Where is your home?" She was quiet for a long moment. "Far away, very far away." Teho did not push. Some questions were not meant to be answered yet. "What do humans think of the Valanthi Empire?" Lyra asked suddenly. The Valanthi Empire. Even Teho, with his limited interest in politics, knew that name. They were the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. They controlled hundreds of star systems. Their technology was centuries ahead of human science. Their navy could destroy entire worlds. They were ancient, mighty, and completely beyond the reach of ordinary people like Teho. "I do not think about them much," he admitted. "They are up there, doing their important things. I am down here carrying cargo and trying to pay my bills. Our lives do not really touch." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. "You have no opinion about them? No fear? No admiration?" "Should I? Most species do. The Valanthi have shaped galactic history for 10,000 years. They are the reason interstellar travel exists in its current form. Their decisions affect trillions of lives." Taiho shrugged. "I am sure that is all true, but it does not change my daily life. My ship still breaks down. My food still tastes bad. I still have to wake up early. Whether the Valanthi do this thing or that thing, I am still just me." Lyra stared at him. Something in her expression changed. The careful mask she wore seemed to crack, just a little. Behind it, Teho saw something unexpected. He saw loneliness. "You are refreshingly ignorant," she said. Teho laughed. "Thanks, I think." It was a compliment. Her voice softened. "I have never met someone who truly did not care about such things. Everyone I have ever known has wanted something from power. They chase it or fear it or worship it. You seem to exist entirely outside that game." "The game sounds exhausting," Teho said. "I prefer simpler things, good food, a working ship, friendly company." He glanced at her. "Though the company could talk more. We still have 3 days together. You know my name, my ship, and probably my darkest secrets by now. I know that your name is Lyra, and that you cannot open food packets." She almost smiled. "What do you want to know?" "Anything, everything. Where did you learn to fight like that? What is your favorite color? Do Valanthi eat breakfast?" "I have many questions." "Valanthi?" She raised an eyebrow. "What makes you think I am Valanthi?" "Just a guess. The silver skin is kind of a hint." This time she did smile. It was small and careful, like a door opening, just a crack. But it was real. "I will tell you this," she said. "I am running from people who wish me harm. I did not choose to run. I was forced. And every day I spend away from my home, I wonder if I will ever return." "That sounds lonely." "It is." Teho nodded slowly. He understood loneliness. He understood being far from home. He understood the feeling of floating through the universe with no destination and no purpose. "Well," he said, "for the next 3 days, you are not alone. You have me and Hana. We are not much, but we are something." Lyra looked at him with those violet eyes. Teho could not read the emotion in them. It was too deep, too old, too complex for his simple mind to understand. "Yes," she said quietly, "you are something." They stood in silence after that, watching the stars together. Somewhere in the distance, danger was waiting. Enemies were searching. Terrible choices were coming. But for now, in this small moment, there was peace. And that was enough. The alarm screamed through the ship like a wounded animal. Teho fell out of his bed. tangled in blankets and confusion. His heart was pounding before his brain fully woke up. That alarm meant only one thing. Someone had found them. He ran to the cockpit. Hana was already there, her fingers flying across the controls. Her face was pale, and her eyes were wide with fear. 3 ships, she said. They came out of nowhere, just appeared behind us. Tai-Ho looked at the screen and felt his stomach drop. The ships were beautiful in a terrible way. They were long and sleek, like silver daggers floating in space. Their hulls shimmered with a light that seemed to come from within. Strange symbols covered their surfaces, glowing with an ancient energy. Tai-Ho had never seen ships like these in person. But he recognized them from news broadcasts and history programs. Everyone in the galaxy would recognize them. They were Valanthi warships. Why are Valanthi warships chasing us? Hana's voice cracked. We are just cargo haulers. We have nothing they would want. Tai-Ho said nothing. He already knew the answer. Lyra walked into the cockpit. She moved calmly without hurry, as if 3 warships were not pointing enough weapons at them to vaporize a small moon. She looked at the screen and her expression did not change. They found me faster than I expected, she said quietly. You! Hana spun around. What did you do? What did you bring onto our ship? Before Lyra could answer, the communication system crackled to life. Unidentified human vessel. The voice that came through was cold and formal. This is Commander Vel Tharun of the Valanthi Imperial Fleet. You are harboring a fugitive of the Empire. You will surrender immediately. Your passenger will be transferred to our custody. If you cooperate, you and your crew will be released unharmed. If you resist, you will be destroyed. Hana's hands were shaking. Tai-Ho could see tears forming in her eyes. They both knew the truth. The rust bucket could not run from these ships. It could not fight them. They had no options. Tai-Ho turned to Lyra. His voice was surprisingly steady. You want to tell me what is going on? Lyra looked at him. Her violet eyes were filled with something that might have been regret. I am sorry, I never meant to put you in danger. That is nice, but it does not answer my question. She was silent for a moment. Then she stepped forward, positioning herself in front of the communication screen. Her posture changed. Her spine straightened. Her chin lifted. The tired traveler in worn clothes suddenly looked like something much more. Do you know who I am? She asked Tai-Ho, her voice soft. Tai-Ho looked at her. He looked at the warships on the screen. He looked at the way she stood, like a queen surveying her kingdom. His brain was putting pieces together, but his heart refused to believe what his brain was telling him. He shrugged. The most gorgeous alien woman alive? Hana made a choking sound. Lyra blinked. For one moment, her composure cracked. Something that might have been a laugh escaped her lips. A strange, surprised sound, as if she had forgotten how to make it. The communication crackled again. The voice of Commander Vel Tharun returned. But this time it was trembling with barely controlled fury. You dare shelter the Empress Dowager of the Valanthi Empire? You dare hide the mother of our Emperor himself? This is an act of war against the Empire. This is treason against the throne. You will face judgment for this crime, human. You and everyone who has helped her. Tai-Ho's brain stopped working. Empress, Dowager, mother of the Emperor. He turned to Lyra. No, not Lyra. The Empress. His mouth opened and closed several times, but no words came out. Holy Mother of... Hana could not finish her sentence. She sat down heavily in her chair, all the strength leaving her legs. I can explain, Lyra said. You are the Empress, Tai-Ho managed. The Empress of the Valanthi, the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. Former Empress. I stepped down when my son came of age. Oh, former Empress. That makes it so much better. Tai-Ho started laughing. It was not a healthy laugh. It was the laugh of a man whose mind was breaking. I have been flirting with the former Empress. I showed her how to use the toilet. I complained about my cargo runs to the former Empress. Tai-Ho, I called you gorgeous. He was still laughing, slightly hysterically. I called the most powerful woman in the galaxy gorgeous, to her face, while she was standing on my terrible ship that smells like old socks. Your ship does not smell like old socks. That is what you focus on? Commander Vel Tharun's voice cut through their conversation. You have 30 seconds to surrender. After that, we will fire. Lyra moved to the communication panel. When she spoke, her voice was completely different. It was the voice of someone who had commanded armies, shaped empires, and decided the fates of billions. It was a voice that expected to be obeyed. Commander Vel Tharun, you know who I am. You know what I have been, and you know that the ones who sent you have committed crimes against the throne itself. They tried to murder the mother of your emperor. They violated the sacred laws that have protected our people for millennia. The communication was silent. You may fire on this ship, Lyra continued. You may kill me and these innocent humans, but you will not be able to hide it. The truth will come out, and when it does, you and everyone in your chain of command will face the consequences. More silence. Then Commander Veltharoon spoke again. His voice was less certain now. Our orders come from the highest authority. Your orders come from traitors who fear what I know. They fear because they are guilty, and they are using you, Commander. They are using your loyalty against you. The warships did not fire, but they did not move away either. They hung in space like predators waiting for their prey to make a mistake. Lyra turned off the communication and faced Taiho and Hana. They will not destroy us immediately, she said. They are uncertain now, but they will call for new orders, and those orders will be to capture us. We have perhaps an hour before they move. An hour, Hana repeated weakly. To escape 3 Valanthi warships? Yes. Taiho had stopped laughing. His brain was slowly starting to work again, moving past the shock and into the place where it functioned best. Desperate situations. Why are they hunting you? He asked. You said you stepped down. Why would they want you dead? Lyra's expression darkened. Because some people saw my son's rise as an opportunity. They wanted to control him, to rule through him. But I stood in their way. I knew their secrets. I had power they could not take. So they arranged for my death. Your own people tried to kill you. The Valanthi are not one people. We are many factions, many interests, many ambitions. Some are loyal to the throne. Some are loyal only to themselves. Taiho nodded slowly. Politics was the same everywhere, it seemed. Whether you ruled the galaxy or carried cargo, people were people. The neutral sector, he said, that is where you were going. Human diplomats. Yes, they have agreed to offer me asylum. If I can reach them, I can expose the traitors and perhaps save my son from their influence. Perhaps? Nothing is certain. Taiho looked at the screen. 3 warships, 1 old freighter. The math was not good. The math was terrible, actually. He should hand her over. He should save himself and Hana. He should be smart for once in his life. But when he looked at Lyra, at the former empress who did not know how to open food packets and laughed like she had forgotten how, he did not see a powerful ruler. He saw a woman running for her life. He saw a mother trying to protect her son. He saw someone who needed help. And Kang Taiho, for all his faults, did not abandon people who needed help. Hana, he said, plot a course through the asteroid field. The one they say is impossible to navigate. Hana stared at him. That field will tear us apart. Maybe, or maybe we get through and lose them. Taiho, we cannot. We can. He turned to Lyra. Buckle up, Your Highness. We are doing this the stupid way. Lyra looked at him with something new in her eyes. It might have been hope. You are going to help me, she said. It was not a question. I took your money. The job is not finished. He grinned, though his hands were shaking. Besides, I still want to know your favorite color. And as the warships began to move, Taiho pushed the rust bucket forward into the unknown. The asteroid field was a nightmare made real. Rocks the size of buildings tumbled through space in every direction. Some spun slowly, like giants sleeping. Others moved fast, crashing into each other and breaking into smaller pieces that flew everywhere like bullets. The ancient gravity of a dead star pulled everything inward, creating a maze that constantly changed. Taiho had heard stories about pilots who tried to cross this field. None of the stories ended well. The rust bucket screamed through the chaos. Hana's hands moved across the controls with desperate speed. Her eyes never left the sensors. Every few seconds, she would shout a warning, and Taiho would throw the ship into another sharp turn. Metal groaned. Systems overloaded. Somewhere in the back, something important fell off and shattered. Left! Left! Hard left! Hana screamed. Tae-ho pulled the controls. A massive rock passed so close to the window that he could see the ancient scars on its surface. Then they were through, sliding into a gap that closed behind them half a second later. The warships? Tae-ho asked through gritted teeth. Still following, but they are falling behind. They are too big for these passages. Good, that was good. The Valanthi ships were built for war, not for squeezing through tiny spaces. The rust bucket was small and ugly, but small and ugly had advantages. Another rock appeared ahead. Tae-ho dove under it. The ship shook as something scraped along the bottom hull. We are losing them, Hana reported. They are breaking off. They cannot follow. Tae-ho wanted to celebrate, but he was too busy trying not to die. For the next 20 minutes, he navigated through the field on instinct alone. He did not think. He just moved. The ship became an extension of his body, twisting and turning, and somehow finding paths through the impossible. When they finally emerged on the other side, Tae-ho collapsed in his seat. His whole body was shaking. Sweat covered his face. His heart was beating so hard it hurt. We made it, Hana whispered. She sounded like she did not believe it. We actually made it. Lyra stood behind them. She had been completely silent during the entire escape. Now she walked forward and looked out the window at the empty space before them. That was remarkable, she said quietly. I have seen the best pilots in the Empire. None of them could have done what you just did. Luck, Tae-ho managed. 90% luck. And the other 10%? Stupidity, Lyra almost smiled. But the moment passed quickly. Her expression became serious again. They will not stop hunting me. They will find another way around the field. They will call for more ships. We have gained time, but only time. How much time? A few hours, maybe half a day. Tae-ho nodded slowly. His brain was starting to work again now that they were not about to crash into rocks. Questions filled his head. Questions he needed answered. Okay, he said. I think you owe us a full explanation. The real one. All of it. Lyra was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. You deserve that much. They gathered in the small common room of the rust bucket. Hana sat as far from Lyra as possible, her arms crossed and her face suspicious. Tae-ho sat closer, his eyes fixed on the alien empress. Lyra began to speak. I was empress for 400 years, she said. In human time, that is a long while. In Valanthi terms, it is. Not unusual. We live long lives. We rule long reigns. 400 years, Hana muttered. You look 30. I am 2016 years old. Hana's mouth fell open. Tae-ho just shrugged. After everything else, this did not seem surprising. When my husband died, Lyra continued, I became the sole ruler. Our son was too young to take the throne. So I held power in his name. I ruled the empire. I made decisions that affected every species in the galaxy. Heavy responsibility, Tae-ho said. Very heavy. But I believed I was doing good. I believed I was protecting my people. Her voice grew softer. I was wrong about some things, right about others. No ruler is perfect. But I tried. She stood and walked to the small window. The stars reflected in her silver skin. When my son came of age, I was ready to step aside. That is our tradition. The old empress retires, the new emperor rises. I was to spend my remaining centuries in comfort, advising when asked but never ruling. But someone did not want that, Tae-ho guessed. Several someones. Lyra turned back to face them. During my reign, I discovered things. Secrets. Crimes committed by powerful families within the empire. They were afraid that I would share these secrets with my son. They were afraid he would punish them. So they tried to kill you. Yes, the assassination was meant to look like an accident, a transport malfunction, a tragic end to a long and honored life. Her violet eyes hardened. But I have survived many attempts on my life. I escaped. I ran. Hana spoke up, her voice sharp. Why come to humans? Why not go to loyal forces within your own empire? Because I do not know who is loyal anymore. Lyra's voice was heavy with pain. The conspiracy reaches deep. It might include my closest advisors. It might include members of my own family. Until I know the full extent of the treachery, I cannot trust anyone within the Empire. But you can trust humans, Tejo said. Humans have nothing to gain from Valanthi politics. You are neutral, and she hesitated. And I had heard that humans are strange, that you help people simply because they need help. I did not believe it, until tonight. Tejo felt his face grow warm. He was not sure if it was embarrassment or something else. There are human diplomats in the neutral sector, Lyra continued. They have agreed to give me shelter. From there, I can gather evidence against the traitors. I can send messages to those I trust. I can prepare to reclaim my position, not as empress, but as protector of my son. And if you fail, Hana asked, then I die and the traitors control the Valanthi Empire forever. Lyra's voice was steady. And they will eventually turn their eyes to the rest of the galaxy, including humanity. The room was silent. Tejo understood now. This was not just about one alien empress. This was about power. Power that could threaten everyone if it fell into the wrong hands. The stakes were bigger than he had imagined. The rendezvous point is 3 systems away, Hana said slowly. 2 days of travel, if we push the engines hard. But there will be more warships, more hunters. They will not give up. I know. Lyra looked at them both. I am asking you to risk your lives for a stranger. I have no right to ask this. If you wish to leave me at the next station, I will understand. Tejo thought about his options. He could drop Lyra off somewhere. He could walk away. He could go back to his simple life of cargo runs and bad food and quiet loneliness. Or he could help. He looked at Lyra, at this ancient, powerful being who was also terrified and alone. He looked at Hana, who was clearly scared but would follow his lead no matter what. He made his decision. I said I would take you to the neutral sector, Tejo said. I meant it. We finished the job. Lyra stared at him. You realize they will come after you too. They will mark you as enemies of the Empire. Your lives will never be the same. My life was already pretty bad, Tejo said with a small grin. What is a little intergalactic conspiracy on top of everything else? Hana groaned and covered her face with her hands. I hate you so much right now. No, you do not. No, I do not. But I am going to complain about this for years. Lyra looked between them. Something shifted in her expression. The mask of the Empress softened, and for a moment, she looked almost human. Thank you, she said. I will not forget this. Do not thank me yet, Tejo said. We still have to survive 2 days of being hunted by the most powerful military in the galaxy. He stood up and stretched. Hana, plot a course through the back routes, the ones the smugglers use. The dangerous ones. All the routes are dangerous now. Might as well pick the ones where we know the dangers. As Hana moved to the controls, Lyra stopped Tejo with a gentle hand on his arm. Why? She asked. Why help me? You do not know me. You owe me nothing. Tejo thought about the question. It was a question he could not fully answer himself. I do not know, he admitted. Maybe because you needed help and I was there. Maybe because running away felt wrong. Maybe because someone told me once that humans are stubborn and stupid and brave, and I guess I wanted to prove them right. Lyra smiled, a real smile, wide and warm. It changed her entire face. Perhaps, she said, that is why I came to humans. And they flew on into the darkness, toward whatever waited ahead. Tejo had spent years building a network. He never called it that. The word sounded too fancy. But it was true. Years of cargo runs, odd jobs, and unexpected adventures had connected him to people across the galaxy. Smugglers who owed him favors, mechanics who remembered his kindness, old friends who would answer his calls no matter the hour. Now he would need all of them. The first stop was a hidden station called the Hollow. It floated inside the shell of a dead asteroid, invisible to normal sensors. Only those who knew its exact coordinates could find it. Tejo had delivered supplies here 3 times over the years. He knew the people inside. Grandma Bach! Tejo shouted as he stepped off the ship. I need your help! The woman who approached them looked ancient. Her face was covered in wrinkles. Her hair was pure white. She walked with a cane that clicked against the metal floor with every step, but her eyes were sharp and bright, and the weapon at her hip was well maintained. Grandma Bach was not actually anyone's grandmother. She had earned the name by being the oldest pirate in the outer sectors, and the most successful. Her ship, the Silver Fang, was a legend. She had stolen from governments, corporations, and criminals with equal skill. "Little Tay-Ho," she said, her voice rough like gravel. "What trouble have you brought to my door?" "The worst kind." Grandma Bach looked past him at Lyra, who stood beside the rust bucket. The old pirate's eyes narrowed. She studied Lyra for a long moment, taking in every detail. "Valanthe," Grandma Bach said. "Highborn, very highborn." She turned back to Tay-Ho. "Tell me you did not kidnap someone important." "I did not kidnap her. She is my passenger. And yes, she is important." "How important?" "Empress important." Grandma Bach was silent. Then she laughed and uttered a harsh barking sound that echoed through the station. "You stupid, stupid boy," she said. "Only you could stumble into something like this." "I know, will you help?" The old woman considered. Her fingers tapped against her cane. Her eyes moved from Tai-Ho to Lyra and back again. "What do you need?" "Cover fire, distraction, anything you can give us while we run." "Against Valanthe warships." "Yes. You know they could vaporize my ship in seconds." "I know. That is why I am asking, not demanding." Grandma Bach stared at him. Something softened in her ancient face. "You saved my grandson," she said quietly. "3 years ago, when those traitors tried to sell him to the fighting pits, you did not have to help. You did it anyway." Tay-Ho remembered. The boy had been young and scared. Tay-Ho had spent 6 hours tracking down the traitors. He had not slept for 2 days after. "He was just a kid." "He was just a kid," Grandma Bach agreed. "And now he is grown and safe because of you." She straightened her shoulders. "The Silver Fang will fly with you. Just tell me where and when." Tay-Ho felt warmth spread through his chest. "Thank you, Grandma." "Do not thank me yet. We might all die." "But we will die fighting," the old woman grinned. "That is the only way to die." They made 3 more stops over the next day. At a repair station, they found Shin Do-yun. He was a mechanic with magic hands who could fix anything. He owed Tai-Ho 3 life debts from an incident involving a broken ship, hostile aliens, and a very angry space whale. When Tai-Ho explained the situation, Do-yun did not hesitate. "I will jam their communications," he said. "I have some equipment that can disrupt Valanthe signals. They will not be able to coordinate properly." "This could get you killed." Do-yun shrugged. "You pulled me from the vacuum. You gave me air to breathe. My life is already yours." At a trading post, they found Mama Park. She was not a fighter, but she knew everyone. Her information network stretched across 3 sectors. She agreed to spread false reports about Lyra's location, sending the hunters in wrong directions. At a gambling den, they found the Nam brothers, 2 former soldiers who had left the military after disagreeing with their commanders. They were rough men with scarred faces and hard eyes. But they remembered when Tai-Ho gave them work during their darkest times. "Escort duty," the older brother said, cracking his knuckles, "against the Valanthe Empire." "Against pieces of the Valanthe Empire," Tai-Ho corrected. "The traitor pieces." "Good enough for us." Lyra watched all of this with growing amazement. "They are risking everything for you," she said to Tai-Ho as they prepared to leave the gambling den. "People who barely know you. People who have nothing to gain. They are not doing it for me. They are doing it because it is right." "That makes no sense. Right does not feed families. Right does not protect from revenge. Right is just a word." Tai-Ho smiled sadly. "Maybe to the Valanthe, but to humans," he paused, searching for the right words. "We believe in something bigger than ourselves. Maybe that is stupid, but it is how we are." Lyra was quiet for a long time. She stared out the window of the rust bucket as they flew toward the next jump point. "I have ruled for 4 centuries, she said finally. "I commanded fleets of thousands. I made laws that changed civilizations. But I never understood loyalty the way you humans seem to." "What do you mean?" "For my people, loyalty is a contract. You serve because you must. You obey because the law demands it. But your people," she shook her head, "they follow you because they want to. They fight for you because they choose to. That is something else entirely." Is it better or worse? I do not know, but it is beautiful. Hana emerged from the cockpit. Next jump in 10 minutes. After that, one more system until the rendezvous. Any sign of pursuit? Not yet. Mama Park's false reports seem to be working. But it will not last forever? Teho nodded. They were close now. So close. But the hardest part was still ahead. That night, Lyra asked Hana to teach her a card game. The three of them sat in the common room, playing a simple human game with worn cards that Teho had owned for years. Lyra was terrible at first. She could not understand bluffing or reading faces. But she learned quickly, and soon she was winning more than she lost. Teho cheats, Hana explained. He always scratches his nose when he has bad cards. I do not. You do. I have been watching you do it for years. Lyra laughed. It was a real laugh, free and light. Teho realized he had never heard her laugh like that before. Tell me about him, Lyra said to Hana. What was he like as a child? Hana grinned wickedly. Oh, he was a disaster, always getting into trouble, always making promises he could not keep. Once he tried to build a spaceship out of garbage. It almost worked. It exploded. Only a little. Lyra listened to their stories with a strange expression on her face. She asked questions. She laughed at the embarrassing parts. She seemed genuinely interested in the small, ordinary details of their lives. You had a good childhood, she said quietly when the stories wound down. Simple, but good. Did you not? Hana asked. Lyra's expression flickered. I was born to rule. My childhood was lessons and training and duty. I do not remember play. I do not remember laughter without purpose. The room was silent. Teho reached over and put a card in her hand. Then learn now. It is never too late to learn. Lyra looked at the card, then at him. Her violet eyes shimmered with something deep and complicated. Perhaps you are right, she said. They played cards until the ship's alarm announced their approach to the final jump point. The rendezvous was only hours away now. Soon Lyra would be safe with the human diplomats. Soon this strange adventure would end. Teho was surprised to find he did not want it to end. But there was no time for such thoughts. The final leg of the journey awaited, and with it, whatever dangers still remained. Last jump, Hana announced. Ready? Teho looked at Lyra. She nodded. Ready, he said, and the rust bucket leaped into the unknown. They dropped out of hyperspace into a battlefield. The coordinates were right. This was the rendezvous point. The human diplomatic ship was supposed to be waiting here, ready to welcome Lyra to safety. Instead, they found wreckage. The human ship floated dead in space, its hull torn open like a wounded animal. Smaller pieces of metal drifted around it, catching the light of distant stars. Emergency signals pulsed weakly from the destroyed vessel, and surrounding it all were 5 Velanthe warships. No, Hana whispered. No, no, no. Teho's hands gripped the controls so hard they hurt. His mind was racing. The traitors had found out about the meeting. They had attacked first. The diplomats, Lyra said. Her voice was steady, but her face was pale. Commander Baek Ji-ho and his team. They might still be alive. As if in answer, a communication crackled through. Empress Lyra. The voice was silky and cruel. Or should I say, former Empress. We knew you would come. We have been waiting. Teho recognized the type of voice. It belonged to someone who enjoyed pain, someone who had power and liked to use it. Admiral Kolvex, Lyra said. Her tone was cold as ice. I should have known you would be involved. Of course, I have always been loyal to the Empire's true interests. The Admiral's voice dripped with false sweetness. Now please, come aboard peacefully. Your human friends are still alive. They do not have to die. On the view screen, one of the warships zoomed in on a small section of their ship. Through a window, they could see figures. Human figures. Commander Baek Ji-ho and 5 others, alive but clearly captive. You will release them, Lyra said. They are innocents. Innocents who conspired against the Empire. But yes, I will release them. After you surrender yourself. A simple trade. Your life for theirs. Lyra closed her eyes. Teho knew what she was thinking. He knew what she was going to do, and he could not let it happen. You cannot seriously be considering this, he said. They are going to die because of me. Human lives ended because I asked for help. And if you surrender, you die. The traitors win. Your son loses his mother. The whole galaxy loses. But 6 people live. For now, until the traitors decide they are inconvenient. Lyra opened her eyes. They were wet with tears she refused to let fall. What would you have me do? Watch them die and do nothing? Tejo thought hard. Around them, the 5 warships waited like predators circling prey. The rust bucket was small and fast, but against this firepower they were nothing. Unless... Hana, Tejo said quietly. Signal Grandma Bach. Tell her we need that distraction now. Hana's eyes widened. Tejo, she cannot fight 5 warships. She does not have to fight them. She just has to confuse them. And then what? Tejo turned to Lyra. His face was set with a determination he rarely showed. Then we do something stupid. We do something human. Lyra stared at him. What are you planning? I'm going to crash my ship into their flagship. While they are busy with Grandma Bach's attack and dealing with our impact, you and I will rescue the hostages. That is insane. That is the point. They will not expect it because it is insane. Hana was already working the controls, sending coded messages. Grandma Bach is responding, she says. She says you are a stupid boy and she loves you for it. Du-Yun? Jamming ready to go. He says their communications will be chaos for at least 10 minutes. The Nam brothers? Standing by to extract us after the rescue. Tejo turned back to Lyra. This is going to be dangerous. People might die. I might die. But I am not going to let you sacrifice yourself without a fight. Lyra was silent for a long moment. Then slowly she smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a warrior preparing for battle. Very well, she said. We do this your way. The stupid way. The human way. The next 10 minutes were organized chaos. Grandma Bach's silver fangs screamed out of hiding, weapons blazing. She was not trying to destroy the warships. She knew she could not, but she was fast and tricky, and she forced them to split their attention. At the same time, Du-Yun activated his jamming equipment. The Valanthi communications dissolved into static. Orders could not be relayed. Coordination became impossible, and in the confusion, the rust bucket flew straight at the flagship. Hold on, Tejo shouted as they accelerated. The flagship saw them coming. It tried to target them, but the jamming made aiming difficult. Shots flew past them, close but not close enough. Tejo aimed for the docking bay, a large opening in the ship's side. It was meant for shuttles and fighters, not small cargo freighters. But if he could hit the opening just right... Brace for impact! The rust bucket crashed through the energy barrier of the docking bay and slammed into the deck inside. Metal screamed. Sparks flew everywhere. Tejo was thrown forward, his harness barely holding him in his seat. When the noise stopped, he was still alive. Hana? Alive. I hate you, but alive. Lyra! Ready! They climbed out of the ruined cockpit. The rust bucket would never fly again. Its hull was crumpled, its engines destroyed. 5 years of Tejo's life, gone in an instant. He pushed the grief aside. There would be time to mourn later. The docking bay was in chaos. Valanthi soldiers ran in all directions, trying to respond to the sudden invasion. The impact had damaged internal systems. Lights flickered. Alarms wailed. Lyra moved with deadly purpose. She had picked up a metal bar from the wreckage, and she wielded it like a warrior born. The first soldier who challenged her fell in 2 seconds. The second lasted less. Tejo had a small blaster, emergency equipment from the ship. He was not a good shot, but he did not have to be. Lyra did most of the fighting. He just kept the soldiers distracted. They fought their way through the ship, following the path Lyra somehow knew. She had been on ships like this before, she explained briefly. She knew the design. When they reached the holding cells, 4 soldiers guarded the door. Lyra stepped forward. What followed was not a fight. It was art. She moved like water, flowing around attacks and striking with perfect precision. The soldiers were trained warriors, but she had been trained for 2,000 years. They never stood a chance. Clear, she said, not even breathing hard. Tejo opened the cell. Commander Baek Ji-ho looked up. He was bruised and bloodied, but his eyes were clear. When he saw Lyra, his expression shifted from confusion to shock to something like awe. "Empress Lyra," he breathed. "You came. I do not leave allies behind." She extended her hand. "Can you walk?" "For you, I can run." They freed the other diplomats. All 6 were wounded but mobile. Tae-ho led them back through the chaos toward the docking bay. On the way, they encountered Admiral Kolvex. He stood in the corridor, blocking their path. Unlike his soldiers, he was not panicked. He was smiling. In his hand, he held a weapon pointed directly at Lyra. "Impressive," he said. "I did not think you would have the courage, or the stupidity." Lyra stepped forward. "This ends here, Kolvex." "Yes, it does." He raised the weapon. "Goodbye, former Empress." Lyra moved. She was faster than anything Tae-ho had ever seen. She closed the distance in a heartbeat, knocking the weapon aside and striking Kolvex with devastating force. They fought, a blur of motion, too fast for human eyes to follow. But Lyra was better. She had always been better. In the end, Kolvex lay on the ground, defeated. Lyra stood over him, breathing hard. She could kill him. It would be easy. He deserved it. Instead, she turned away. "You will live," she said, "and you will tell everyone what happened here. You will tell them that the traitors failed, that the Empress escaped, and that the humans helped her." Kolvex's face twisted with hatred. "They will never stop hunting you." "Let them try." They ran. The Nam brothers' ship was waiting just outside the flagship. They crossed through space in small emergency suits that Lyra had found on the ship. It was terrifying and cold, and Tae-ho nearly passed out twice. But they made it. As the small ship sped away, the Valanthi flagship erupted in secondary explosions. Something critical had been damaged in the crash. The ship would survive, but barely. Grandma Bok's Silverfang flew cover for their escape. The other warships, still confused by the jamming, could not pursue effectively. Tae-ho collapsed in his seat. His body felt broken. His ship was gone. He had almost died at least 3 times. But they were alive. The diplomats were safe, and Lyra was still free. "You destroyed your ship," she said quietly, sitting beside him. "Yes. That ship was your home." "It was. Why? Why give that up for me?" Tae-ho thought about the question. The real answer was complicated. The real answer was about duty and stubbornness and something else he could not name. But he was too tired for complicated answers. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said simply, "and sometimes that is enough." Lyra was quiet for a long moment. Then she leaned her head against his shoulder. "Thank you, Kang Tae-ho," she whispered. And despite everything, the pain, the loss, the fear, Tae-ho smiled. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. Human cargo pilot rescues Valanthi Empress. Traitors exposed. Diplomatic crisis avoided. 6 lives saved. 1 small freighter destroyed in the most insane rescue mission in recorded history. Within hours, the story was everywhere. News networks from 100 species carried the report. Analysts debated the implications. Politicians made statements. The galaxy had not been this excited about humans since first contact. On a quiet human space station called Haven, Tae-ho sat in a medical bay while doctors examined his wounds. He had 3 cracked ribs, a mild concussion, burns on his left arm, and more bruises than he could count. But he was alive. Hana was in the next bed, recovering from similar injuries. She had been complaining for hours. "My hair is ruined," she said for the 10th time. "Do you understand? Ruined. I look like a disaster victim." "You are a disaster victim," Tae-ho pointed out. "That is not the point." Commander Baek Ji-ho visited them that afternoon. The human diplomat was recovering well. He brought flowers for Hana and a bottle of expensive alcohol for Tae-ho. "You saved our lives," he said simply. "The human government is grateful. We would like to offer you a reward." "I do not want money," Tae-ho said. "I was thinking of a ship." Tae-ho paused. "What kind of ship?" "A new one, fast, reliable, bigger than your old one." Commander Beck smiled. "We think someone who crashes into enemy flagships probably needs a good ship." Yes. Yes, I would like a ship." It will be ready in 3 days. Later that week, another visitor came. A Valanthi transport landed at the station. Not a warship, but a diplomatic vessel. From it emerged a young Valanthi male. He was tall and handsome, with silver skin like Lyra's and eyes that carried the same ancient depth. He was the Emperor himself. The station went into a panic. No one had expected this. Security officers ran in every direction. Diplomats were summoned. The administrator nearly fainted. But the Emperor walked calmly to the medical bay, flanked by his guards. He stopped at Taeho's bed and looked down at the injured human. "You are the one who saved my mother," he said. Taeho tried to sit up straighter. It hurt. "I am." The Emperor was quiet for a moment. He studied Taeho with an expression that was hard to read. Then slowly he bowed his head. The guards gasped. An emperor bowing to a human? It was unheard of. "Thank you," the Emperor said. "You have done what my entire fleet could not. You have returned my mother to me." Taeho did not know what to say. He had never expected to meet an emperor. He had certainly never expected an emperor to thank him. "I just did what was right," he managed. "Yes, that is exactly what makes your species remarkable." The Emperor straightened. "The traitors have been arrested. My mother's evidence has exposed their entire network. The Empire will be cleansed of their influence." "That is good." "It is, and it is thanks to you." The Emperor reached into his robes and pulled out a small object. It was a medallion of some kind, covered in symbols that glowed with inner light. "This is the Star of the Empire. It is the highest honor our civilization can give to a non-Valanthi. With this, you are recognized as a friend of the throne. Forever." Taeho took the medallion. It was heavier than it looked. It felt like history. I do not know what to say." "Say you will visit someday. My mother speaks highly of you. She says you are the most honest being she has ever met." The Emperor smiled, a young smile, almost boyish. "She also says you have terrible taste in food. The instant noodles are not that bad." She disagrees strongly. After the Emperor left, Taeho lay back in his bed and stared at the ceiling. His life had changed so much in such a short time. A week ago, he was a nobody cargo pilot with a broken ship and empty pockets. Now he had a medal from an emperor and the gratitude of the most powerful civilization in the galaxy. It was a lot to process. The next evening, Lyra came to see him. She was dressed differently now. Her worn traveler's clothes were gone, replaced by elegant robes that suited her true status. She moved with the grace of a queen again, but her eyes were still the same. Still violet, still deep, still carrying secrets Taeho could not understand. "You look better," she said, sitting beside his bed. "I look terrible." "That too." She smiled. It was a warm smile, easy and natural. She had learned how to do that on the rust bucket, during card games and late-night conversations. "My son has asked me to return home. The traitors are defeated. The Empire needs me to help stabilize things." Taeho felt something heavy settle in his chest. He had known this was coming. Of course she had to go back. She was an empress. She belonged among the stars, not on broken ships with broken pilots. "That is good," he said. "You should go. Your people need you." "Yes." Lyra was quiet for a moment. "But I find myself uncertain." "About what?" "About what I want." She turned to face him fully. Her violet eyes were bright with emotion. "For 400 years, I did what was expected. I ruled, I served, I sacrificed. I never asked what I wanted. And now I have tasted something different. Freedom, friendship, laughter without purpose." She reached out and took his hand. Her silver fingers were cool against his skin. "I have tasted what it means to be ordinary." Taeho's heart was beating fast. He tried to keep his voice steady. "You cannot be ordinary. You are 2,000 years old. You rule an empire. You are the most gorgeous alien woman alive." Lyra laughed. That same surprised, genuine sound from the bar all those days ago. "You are still using that line?" "It is a good line. It is a terrible line." She squeezed his hand. "But I find I do not mind it." They sat in silence for a while. Outside the window, stars drifted past. The same stars that Lyra had watched her whole life. The same stars that Taeho had chased across the galaxy. "What will you do?" he asked finally. "Go back? Resume your place?" Lyra considered. "I could. Live in palaces. Advise my son. Be the Empress Dowager again." She paused. "Or I could stay here. Learn more about humans. See the galaxy from a different view." "Your people would accept that?" "My people owe me 2,000 years. They can spare me a few more." Taeho felt hope rise in his chest. It was dangerous to hope. Hope had hurt him before, but he could not stop it. "If you stayed," he said carefully, "what would you do?" "I heard you are getting a new ship." "I am. I heard you need a navigation officer. Apparently Hana keeps threatening to quit." "She does. She also keeps not quitting." "Perhaps she would be happier with help." Lyra leaned closer. "I am quite good with navigation systems. I fixed yours in 3 minutes, remember?" "I remember." "So?" Taeho looked at her, at this ancient, powerful, beautiful being who was also lonely and searching and learning to laugh. He looked at her, and he saw everything he had never known he wanted. "Pay is terrible, Isha," he said. "Food is worse. The ship probably smells like old socks, even though it is new. I have been told I can learn to tolerate such things. And you would be taking orders from me, a cargo pilot, a nobody." Lyra smiled. "You are not a nobody, Kang Taeho. You never were." Taeho smiled back. It hurt his bruised face, but he did not care. "Then welcome aboard, again." 3 days later, they stood in the docking bay, looking at Taeho's new ship. It was beautiful, sleek and silver, with lines that promised speed and reliability. It was everything the rust bucket had not been. Taeho had decided to name it the Second Chance. Hana was already inside, cursing at the unfamiliar controls. The Nam brothers had agreed to join the crew as security. Grandma Bach had promised to call if she needed help. Do-Yun had installed special equipment that would make the ship untraceable. They had a crew. They had a mission. They had adventures waiting. Lyra stood beside Taeho, looking up at the ship. "Ready?" she asked. "For what?" "I do not even know where we are going." "Anywhere. Everywhere." She turned to him, her violet eyes shining. "Is that not the point?" Taeho thought about his old life, the loneliness, the routine, the feeling that nothing mattered and nothing would change. That was gone now. "You still do not know who I am," Lyra said softly. It was what she had said at the bar, a lifetime ago. "Not really, not completely." Taeho shrugged. "I know you do not know how to open food packets. I know you cheat at cards. I know you laugh like you forgot how. I know you stayed when you could have left. Is that enough?" Taeho took her hand, her silver fingers interlaced with his. "It is enough to start." And together they walked toward the ship, toward the stars, toward whatever came next. The galaxy was vast and full of wonders. There would be danger ahead. There would be challenges. There would be moments when everything seemed lost and hope seemed impossible. But they would face it together. Human and Valanthe, pilot and empress. Two small beings in an infinite universe, choosing each other. That was the human way. And maybe, just maybe, it was becoming Lyra's way too. The Second Chance lifted off, engines humming, and flew toward the endless black. A new star was rising,